Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There you go. The last verse that we saw, the 7th verse, it says, Sarveshu Kaleshu Mamanusmara Yudhyacha. Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mamanusmara Yudhyacha. Ayyarpita Mano Buddhihi Mave Vaishyasya Samshayaha. Therefore, at all times remember me and fight. With mind and intellect absorbed in me, you shall without doubt come to me alone. He's doing a reasoning and comes to a conclusion. The reasoning is, there is a fundamental principle of life. Well, as you think, so you become. Whatever you think, that is what you will become. That is where you will go and reach. So what you think at the time of death is what is going to be determining what is going to be your next life. And what is going to be determining what you think at the time of death is what you have been thinking right through your life. So this he is not saying. This we have to extract and understand. If you take only what Krishna says, he says very simple. Whatever you think at the time of death, that is what will determine your next birth. So all that you have to do is what? You just have to think of Bill Gates. Next Janma, you will also become one Bill Gates. Simple, sir. Problem solved. It doesn't work that way, please. Therefore, he says, if you have to reach me, what you have to do is what he is giving here. So those who think of the world, go to that world. Those who think of me, come to me. So at the time of death, what are you supposed to do is that if that needs to be done, you have to think about me, is what he says here. Verse 7. So based on that principle, he is deriving this and says, therefore, what are you supposed to do? Therefore, all times, sarveshu kaleshu, all the time, what are you supposed to do? Think of me. One aspect of you should be thinking of me. Another aspect of you should be functioning in the world. That is advising. Sarveshu kaleshu, all the time, what is to be done? These two things should be done parallelly. A lot of people take it, like this. All the time, what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to be thinking Rama, 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 Rama. You go to some, it happened actually to one lady house. Someone must have told her, or she must have read, Tyagaraja was, chanted Rama, 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 16,000 crore, 6,000 crore, 16,000 crores times, something like that, they have. He has chanted and Rama appeared. So what are you supposed to do? Sarveshu Kaleshu, keep thinking of Rama, Rama, Rama. And she must have heard it yes also. You have to be functioning in the world also. So what am I supposed to do? Keep chanting Rama, 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 Rama. Coffee kudikkirீங்களா? Rama, 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 Rama. She said. I go to the house. He says, do you like to have coffee? And then she says Rama, 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 Rama. She's not giving time for me to give answer because you got to pause no. I have to think and say yes or no. And then, coffee with sugar, without sugar. I have my own, rules, for coffee. Now, he's not giving any chance. He says Rama, Rama, Rama. How is Swamiji? Rama, 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 Rama. Yeah. She was asking, so many things, and she is participating in the, we are just sitting and talking in the, living room, and, talking to her husband, and this lady is also there, and once in a while she is coming in. It's so interesting to see. Now, that is not what he is saying. Mahamanusmaran Yuddhyacha. What are you supposed to do, sir? Do both. So what are you? And she is thinking what? She is practicing what is being told by Krishna in the Gita. What is she doing? She is chanting the Lord's name. Also, she is playing the host. Just what she is not doing, at least with me. Okay, not fighting with me, at least, But she is playing host there in that situation. Like that, says that is not what is referred here, please. You have to do together. Means parallelly, two dimensions are there for you in life. Right? I'm just borrowing this term for that limited application. Okay. Your mind is divided into two aspects. One is called conscious mind, another one is called subconscious mind. It has two aspects. It's not that it's not there, it is there. There are two things. One, surface, another one is deep rooted. Where you are not, because your mind at any given point of time can entertain only one thought at a time. And don't, believe in this multitasking and all those things. You see, multitasking can be done in the mechanical state. Right? You cannot do that at the thought level. At the thought level, multitasking is not possible. At the action level, it is possible. That also only do few actions, not all actions. You see, multitasking can be done in terms of cooking. Parallelly, you can do 2-3 things. Right? But you cannot be solving mathematical problem parallelly. 3 problems if you have, you cannot do that. See, certain things can be done, multitasking, where you can develop a skill where there is no necessity for you to be attentive to execute the action. But the action can continue more or less perfectly. But there is no necessity of a participation of the mind. Those actions parallelly can go. So when we say multitasking, we refer only to those set of actions. Now here we are not talking about that. We are talking about what you do at the level of mind, internally, at the thought level. At the thought level, you can entertain only a thought at a time. You can't have a crowd of thoughts. Our mind works like that, hourglass, where at a time only one grain can pass through. You can have millions of grains, sand grains inside, but at any given point, only one can pass through. That is your conscious mind. Now, what Krishna is giving here is You are having two dimensions. Human alone has these two aspects: conscious mind and the subconscious mind. How the subconscious mind gets that power, thoughts getting deposited there, all that is only what is entertained at the conscious level. Remember that. Subconscious doesn't get the strength by itself. On its own, it doesn't. After you have consciously fed, it grows so big, it cannot be contained at the surface. So it goes underneath. That's the only thing. So subconscious mind has a tremendous power. You say, why? How? Not by itself. On its own, subconscious mind doesn't get that power. The conscious mind entertained a particular thought, it is fed consciously. Then it gets into a subconscious mind. Then it goes deeper. Then it goes deep into your system. It becomes stronger. Now, what he is giving here is you have to do two things. At any given point of time, there is conscious and the subconscious. Okay. At the conscious level, what you do is engage the fight. Engage in the worldly activities. Perform your worldly duties at the conscious level. The subconscious level, what it is supposed to do? Keep the thought of the Lord. Keep the thought of the self. That is what he is saying. Sarveshu Baleshu Mamanusmara Idyacha. Your subconscious mind should be thinking of the self, the goal of realization, or the Lord, God, divinity, whatever. However you want to think. The thought of the self to be at the subconscious level, and the conscious mind is engaged in performance of the worldly duties. Is it possible, sir, to do like that? Yes, but it needs a training. How, like the classical musician keeps the Shruti in the background and sings. It's not that when the classical musicians were singing the songs, his conscious thought is only with reference to the song. He's not thinking of the Shruti. You see, they tune the Shruti and put it back. That's all. All these musicians in the beginning of concert, if you see, they'll take the tanpura. And in fact, one of the test great musicians keep is this. Like what man was telling, he has studied under a guru, right? T.N. Yashogopalan was his guru. He studied under him. Neyveli Santana Gopalan is the one I'm referring to. He says in his interview, it appears that he had studied under him. Good training. After all the training, his guru wanted to send him to see his guru. He said, once you go and sing in front of him, once my guru gives a sanction only, I can say I am so confident this is what says Seshagopalan. So Santana Gopalan goes to Paramaguru, right? Guru's guru. He goes. And he had prepared, this raga I'm going to sing, this alap I'm going to do, this, all those things. That man, he goes there, he does a pranams. He said, I studied under him. He said, oh, very good, very good. I know he's one of my best student. All that, excellent. Now what? I wanted to sing in front of you. Lamprabha. there was a tanpura he had in the corner. He said, bring the tanpura and tune it. He was tuning that. He was tuning and tuning. When he was doing the tuning, he said, enough, po. He never allowed him to sing, it seems. And then he had to plead him, I have come all the way. At least let me sing one song in front of you. They said, okay, sing. The way you tune your tampura, they know whether you know music or not. If we were to sing, what is our condition? Why that sound, whine, 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 it goes in the background, it's nuisance. But for a classical musician, that is the Aadhar. That's the foundation. He sits there and sings. But never he is conscious of it. He is never conscious of, at least that, complicated pallavis and all when they sing, it's impossible. When he is going into this Kalpanaswarams, they say, Kalpanaswaram, Chittaswaram also you can do. It's all, memory. You can sing. That's not an issue at all, actually. But once this Kalpanaswarams and all starts, it is so difficult for him to be remembering the Shruti. He's not going to. But has he forgotten Shruti, sir? No. Any slight change or a disturbance there affects him. That's tuning. Your subconscious tuning has happened. Now there is no necessity for you to be bringing it at the conscious level. So there are two sets of students. Okay. Lokesmin Vivida Nishta Pura Prokta Mayanaga. Said no. Vivida Nishta. There are two types. Two types of students. To one set of students, your conscious mind at one stage, what are you supposed to do is, when you are engaging in the world, let the thought of the self be the subconscious. Let your worldly duties and obligations be at the conscious. Don't compromise there. Don't move away from that. And when you are performing specific sadhana, when you are in that spiritual one, there what you are supposed to do, sir. Now use that time to entertain the thought of the self consciously. Because more and more you entertain the thought of the self at the conscious level, alone it will go into subconscious. Directly it will not go. Now he is giving that. He says, what you are supposed to do is, don't stop your worldly action, because Arjuna wants to get away from action. He says, I don't want to fight. Let me get out of fight. I don't want this war. I don't want to kill people. And he speaks so many things. Essentially, he says, I don't want to fight. That's all. Which is moving away from your obligations. He says, there is no necessity at all. You can continue to be operating in the field of your obligation. Still, you can keep thinking of me. Mahamanusmar. You have to do that together. Yes. Then he says, how you have to do it? Use both, he says. Mayarpita mano buddhi. With mind and intellect. You have to entertain the thought of the self at the level of the mind. Also, you need to entertain the thought of the self at the level of the intellect. The level of mind is also important. The level of intellect is also important. See? When you are so worried about the world, where is the time for you to think of, the Lord Allah? You see, Engagement is more with reference to, you, what's happening in the world. You, what's happening in the world. You, what's happening in the world. This way, maximum viewed things is the news channel. See, what is a news channel? Same news, no difference, and it is so interesting. The best part is, breaking news. Breaking news, breaking. How can you have breaking news 24/7? Breaking news cannot be 24/7. 24/7 breaking news. That's why you're mad. The buddhi is gone completely off. There's no sane personality, including all of you. Why? Breaking news. Now imagine what will happen to your imagine, every time it spikes. Physically, at least you can understand that. Imagine your sugar level spikes every half an hour. Every half an hour, your blood pressure shoots up, let's say. What will happen to your body? It will collapse over a period of time. Same way, you keep watching this news channels. Your engagement is not saying you should not engage with the world. You should engage. You should engage in the field of what? In the field of your obligation. Are you engaging in the field of your obligation? Have you prioritized your obligations clearly, first of all? That's what he says. Yudhyasya. He's not saying fight. You got to have clarity with reference to your obligation. In the context of Arjuna, it is fight. But your primary obligation is to be in action, to be in that effort, to be in that struggle. Our problem is you are so tired by the time these days, people come to 40, 45, they say, I want to retire. They say 45, they say retirement, voluntary retirement. Why you want to get retired? For what? That's the focus. Is this an information that is necessary for you to live? Basic question we ask is this. Ask this one question before you take up any information. What is happening between Israel and Palestine? If you don't know, will you die? Now, who is going to, this is what the problem with, that is why no grandchild wants to have a conversation with the grandfather. Grandchildren don't want grandfathers. They say, don't start your lecture. The moment you open your mouth, they say what? Shut up. Why? Because you have read all those things. Unnecessary information you have picked up in your mind and you can't hold it. It's like a hot potato inside. Now what will you do? You have to throw it out. Any opportunity given, you throw it out. And you think you are very knowledgeable. And people think they are very knowledgeable. Focus on obligations which is connected to you. Do you have to be deciding that? Is it under your control? Like this man gives, beautiful one concept that the 7 habits. I'm forgetting the author name. Stephen something. He says there are two circles are there. It seems in life. Yes, circle of influence and a circle of concern. You are worried about things in life is far bigger than what you can actually do. Can you do anything there? Can you decide? You cannot decide. No. Then why are you worrying about it? Why do you have to know? As though somebody is going to call you for an interview. If you don't know about what is happening between Israel and Palestine, you are finished. As if you don't know what is happening in West Bengal. As if you don't know if you are living there, you have to know. What is happening in Bangalore, you should know. Why? You are living here. If they have extended the lockdown, you should know they have extended the lockdown. Now, why do you have to know in Uganda whether they have extended the lockdown or not? Is this a priority? When you are not having anything else, that is where you go into all these unnecessary things. He says, engage your mind and intellect together. Your intelligence also should be employed. The informations that you gather also should be connected to what you are supposed to be knowing. Emotionally, also you should be connected to God. Are you connected to God emotionally? What is the emotional connection to God? Not crying, you go and cry. That is not what is referred as emotional connection to God. The emotional connection means to recognize a particular relationship, emotional vacuum that is existing in you. That emotional dependency that is existing in you, to fulfill that emotional weakness or that dependency is where you are entertaining a relationship. See, you entertain a relationship. Why do you entertain a relationship? I want to get married. One fellow says. Another fellow says, I want a friend. Another fellow says, I want father. Another fellow says, I want mother. Another fellow says, I want brother. Another fellow says, I want a sister. Why? I've never had a sister in my life. I have never had a younger sister in my life. I had an elder sister, elder brother, younger brother, all that I have had. One thing I have not had is the younger sister. Now what are you going to do? There is a vacuum. Another person is thinking this. Now every one of us have a particular patch. There is a patch. To recognize that patch, which is what is pulling your entire emotional maturity. All these emotional problems that we are experiencing is nothing but a manifestation of that particular one. Like Shakespeare says, no? And that particular weakness is yes. In Hamlet, says this Denmark. See, these fellows are all fantastic, extraordinary there. But they have one weakness, no, drink. The one weakness, he says, I am not saying. Hamlet, he says, all that vices get expressed from that particular weakness, he says. All your emotional relationship breakage problems, this, that, all that, if you carefully analyze, is nothing but wanting someone else, something else to fill that particular vacuum that I'm experiencing. I will be wanting we have seen that no many times. Those who wanting to have a daughter, they got only son. They will do all makeups to the son like a girl and take a picture and keep. You see? You know. And the fellow who has a daughter, he will want to train her daughter like son. Another problem. Now, like I'm just giving few examples. Like that, you have any number of relationships in the world. All that relationships, there is a particular vacuum we have. Emotionally, to be connected to God means to recognize that and attempting to satisfy that one through the relationship with the Lord. Not attempting to get that fulfillment through the world. If you go to the world to fill that gap, finished. Alternative. You would be in deep trouble. And that's what is given here. Mayarpita mano buddhi. This mind and intellect, both should be arpita, means it should be offered, absorbed. It should be lost. Like if you see Tyagaraja's songs, either he will do only two things in the song. Either he will be talking to Rama or he will be talking to himself. Either it's a conversation with Rama or conversation with himself. That's all. All his songs are only these two things. Nothing else. That is called Mayarpita Mano Buddhi. Tyagaraja is the example. What you do now? Rama should be coming and filling the gap through which I gain that emotional stability. Also, I engage my buddhi in the thoughts of the self. Now, what Krishna is going to concentrate now is with reference to how that buddhi can be engaged. Right? He is not going to be talking with reference to throughout the Bhagavad Gita. Hardly he touches with reference to that emotional part of it, because that's not the context here. See, even though he says that you're supposed to do it, but he is not going to be elaborating on that point. He is going to be elaborating only on this point as to how that buddhi can be absorbed, how buddhi should be engaged in that. Training, teaching, directions, suggestions, all that is going to be given only with reference to how buddhi can be absorbed. That is the Shastric style here. The Gita Shastra style is that. But that doesn't mean he says only that. You have to do this also. But he's not going to be telling you, how am I to do that, sir? That you have to work it out. You figure it out. That's not his context here. He's going to do. You have to study that also. Chemistry means organic chemistry and inorganic chemistry. Inorganic chemistry professor will teach only inorganic chemistry. That doesn't mean he is going to say organic chemistry you can skip. He's not going to say. He'll say what? Hey, study organic chemistry also. But he will say, go and ask that professor. Don't ask me. That also you have to do. So he says, therefore, at all times remember me and fight with mind and intellect absorbed in me. You shall, without doubt, come to me alone. Such a confident, assertive statement. Rarely you will find such statements from Krishna. See, very assertive he is. Mam eva vaishyasi. This eva is very interesting. You, asamshaya, without any doubt, you will come to me alone. You cannot go anywhere else. You will reach me, provided you follow these rules. Then he is going to give in terms of, okay, now we have said all these things, how I have to remember you and act. So first stage, what you are supposed to do, stage 1, initial preparation. I told you there are 2 sets of people, Vivida, Nishta. Said no, so those 2 types. The first stage, what they do is, they remember the thought of the self in the background and engage themselves in the worldly actions. That is the preparatory stage. Then comes the final effort. In the final effort, what they do is, they don't focus much in terms of the worldly actions. They withdraw from the worldly actions, sit, and what was running at the subconscious, they bring it, allow that to come and stay in the conscious. The first stage is a preparatory stage. The second stage is the final plunge. So that is how they reach me, says. And now how that intellect should think. The thinking of the intellect has to be done with reference to the self. Here, what is important to remember is, you cannot have your own way of thinking about God. I will think of God the way I want to think. Yes, it is allowed. But to whom? When? When it is allowed? Not during preparatory period. Remember, during preparatory period, the thoughts of the self or God should be entertained as per presented, as it is explained, as it is given in the Shastras. How it is explained in the Shastras, that is how you are supposed to think. And then you can make it your own. But the starting point has to be what? As per the rule book. Same way here, he says. Now, how that is explained there is what he is going to give a gist here in this portion. From verses 8 to 14 is explaining the second topic. Is moving into the next idea. The next idea is, through this standard practice of your effort, your preparation and final plunge is referred as yoga and meditation. So through these 2 things, how you can reach Brahman. This is the topic next. Verse number 8. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya-gamina paramam purusham divyam yati partanu chintaya. With the unswerving mind made steadfast by the practice of yoga and meditation, O Partha, one goes to the supreme resplendent being. Paramam Purusham Divyam. This supreme, resplendent being. How do you reach there, sir? This is how you reach. How? With the unswerving mind made steadfast by the practice of yoga and meditation. This Chetasa mind should have gone through two disciplines. That's what he is explaining here. Two things the mind should be doing. One is Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena. One, steadfast by the practice of yoga, and Nanyagamina, na Anyagami. It doesn't go anywhere else. Not going to the other thoughts. So, first what you are supposed to do is bring that mind through the practice of Abhyasa, steadfastness, this consistency. Bring that consistency with reference to the practice of yoga. Yoga, we have said, yoga means union. Right? To reach to the self, to unite with the self, whatever effort you put in, that is called yoga. Right? How consistent are you? See, what is interesting is consistency everybody has. We don't have the problem of consistency. That's what we studied in the portion of personality chapter in the BT, Dhriti. When we study about the Dhriti, Dhriti means consistency. That Dhriti is classified into three: Sattvic Dhriti, Rajasic Dhriti, Tamasic Dhriti. So what he is talking about here is the steadfastness means that Sattvic Dhriti, the consistency with which you are working. All of us will say what? Sir, I want to be consistent, but the problem is people around me are not allowing. I want to study. Given a chance, I will be attending your class every day. Two problems are there. One, people are not allowing. Two, you are not taking. If you take class every day, I will sit. And that's not the problem. The problem is you are not having that dhriti inside you. How do you get that? Only through abhyasa, through practice. Abhyasa, he has already explained in the 6th chapter. Right? What is this? Through this abhyasa and vairagya. Because when Arjuna asked this question, Krishna, the mind doesn't seem to be staying at all. I don't think it is possible. It looks impossible for us to control the mind and keep it in a place. It doesn't work. To which he said, yes. Asamshaya, no doubt, man. No doubt. Mind is unstable. It will not stay. But through abhyasa and vairagya, you can keep it. Through the practice of vairagya, you can do. What is that practice you have to do? And that practice should result in vairagya. What is the practice? The practice is to go back to the basic spiritual disciplines of karma, bhakti, jnana. Through that practices of it, what will happen? Your desires gets offloaded. What is taking you away from being consistent is the presence of the desires, presence of likes and dislikes, presence of vasanas. It is the presence of the desires that is not. So once the mind's desires are offloaded, it will be consistent. You will get that steadfastness. How do you get that? You get it only through this practice of this. Then you get vairagya. What is that vairagya? Vairagya is A disinterested interest, he says. You know, beautiful coinage. Disinterested interest. You can't say he is disinterested, nor can you say he is involved. You see, that state is called vairagya. Of course, I'm not going into the details of what is vairagya and all those things. We have studied that earlier there. So I'm just recapping because he says, Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena. Through the practice of Abhyasa, you have what Abhyasa is. Abhyasa is practice people think, what I'm supposed to do is I sit and meditate, mind goes, I bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. Now, bringing back to this will not work. Unless you have gone through the preliminary disciplines of the practice of karma, bhakti, jnana. That you have to do. Abhyasa yoga yuktena. Then what? Nanya kamina is not allowed to move out. After you have developed vairagya, when you sit for contemplation, when you sit for meditation, when the mind slips, bring it back. Don't allow the mind to slip out. Now, they think that abhyasa itself is that. That's where the problem is. If you take that abhyasa itself to be nanyagamina, then you are in trouble. You are in trouble in the sense what? You will never be able to. In fact, when you are sitting and meditating, your mind is supposed to slip. If your mind is not slipping at all, if it is keep on going in the direction, effortlessly, without any problems, I sit, I close my eyes, that's it. After that, everything becomes oblivious to me. I am totally absorbed in that. Means you are indulging in the thought. You are indulging in the thought of God. You are not putting effort. Remember, effort, always remember, should have a little pinch. A little strain should be there. If it is effortlessly moving, that's what they say. People go for a walk. When the doctor says go for a walk, they say go for a brisk walk. Understood that is. You can't take a stroll. Usually you walk, you slowly you go around. I walk every day 1 hour, sir. You can walk 1 hour, but how you do that walking defines whether you are going to get healthier or not. Otherwise, nothing is going to happen. You just move. You see, keep moving. That is not going to help you at all. The effort should be there. What is the effort? That doesn't mean mind should slip in. That's not what my point is. When you are sitting for that practice in the initial stages, it will slip. When it slips, bring it back. This is when, after you have developed vairagya. Now, without any vairagya, you go and sit. Your mind will slip. It will not slip. Once in a while, it will come to God. Slip in the meaning, once in a while, it will go out. That is, now here, that's not that. Here it is this. That's why we call these practices as upasana. It's referred as upasana. We don't refer these things as dhyana. It is referred as upasana. When you are sitting for that upasana, what is the difference between upasana and dhyana, sir? In upasana also you are thinking of the self, you are thinking of God, all that. In dhyana also you are thinking of God, you are thinking of the self. The difference is what? If you are entertaining similar thoughts, that's called upasana. You are repeating the same thought, that's called dhyana. Right? Similar thoughts. Today when you sit for puja or japa or dhyana, whatever you call it? Are you getting similar thoughts? You are getting dissimilar thoughts. Hmm? Today, condition of the mind is like monkey, but jumping from branch to branch and tree to tree. Both it will do. No, it will jump from branch to jumping from branch to branch. It is in that same tree. Similar thoughts. Sitting in a branch is same thought. Jumping from tree to tree is dissimilar thoughts. Now today your mind is like which monkey? When your mind is jumping from tree to tree, right? You're not even tree to tree. You are jumping from from forest to forest. See? From Amazon you go to Australian forest. From there they go to Siberia. From there you go. I know, no connection. Peculiar monkey this is. Not from tree to tree also. See, or today when your mind is entertaining dissimilar thoughts, then this is not what is referred. This Nanya Gamina is not for you. You see, then what are you supposed to do? Go back to this Abhyasa. Through that practice of the preliminary disciplines, the preliminary discipline is the practice referred as Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and all those things. That baby steps that you take towards Karma, towards Bhakti, towards Jnana. That baby step that you take with reference to that is what all this class is all about. Don't take this class as Jnana Yoga. A lot of people think, I'm studying, I'm attending your class. Isn't this Jnana Yoga? This is not Jnana Yoga. This is the baby step. The baby step that you are supposed to be taking. Now, without that baby step, can you run? That is not possible. As baby step you are not taking. Then there is a chance for you to go for walking, running, sprinting. No chance. So here what he is referring to is do these two things. Then as what you are supposed to be thinking. I'm going to be focusing. Focusing on what? He gives an indication. He says, hold your mind in that idea of what? Paramam Purusham Divyam. As it is explained in this. Anuchintaya. Anuchinta. You have to meditate. You have to keep contemplating. You have to keep thinking on the self as it is Paramam Purusham Divyam. Why this Paramam Purusham Divyam is what is stated in the scriptures. The Shastras explain like that. So your thinking should be in alignment with what? In alignment with what is explained in the scriptures. So you meditate on God, you contemplate on the self, on God, as stated in the scriptures. The scriptures explain that as what? Paramam Purusham Divyam. Otherwise, you will sit and say, God, 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 means nothing will happen. You have to think of the Lord as what? That upasana should be happening as what? Paramam Purusham Divyam. You have to understand, it is Paramam, supreme, the self, me to be taken. Me here understood is you have to take that self as the supreme or the Lord as supreme, depending upon your comfort. If you feel Lord is better, take it. If you can conceive the self, think of that, which is what is referred as Saguna Upasana or Nirguna Upasana. Now, in this context, we will be taking more in terms of Saguna Upasana only, not Nirguna Upasana. You see, this is Saguna only. Why? Purusham he says. You have to understand that as a being. Visualize it as a particular being. That being is of that nature of what? This. Same thing can be taken in the context of Nirguna also. Because if you go to the root of the term, Purusha, it is Purusha means the one who resides, he says. Puri Seshate iti Purusha. The one who resides, the indweller. The one who resides, lives, dwells in the hearts of all beings is called Purusha. The one who is the indweller. Who is the one who is dwelling inside you is Purusha. The same Purusha is also fills up the entire world, is also Purusha. The word Purusha has two meanings. The one who is the indweller, also he is the one who pervades everywhere, who fills up everywhere, everything. Pureti sarvam Purusha. Yes. So either you take it as this or you take it as being. What being? Now, how am I to think of the self? As stated, as explained in the Shastras. And he takes few and gives. Now, from the next verse onwards, he goes to give few indicators or few points for you to dwell upon, to think about it. Very interesting points. And now what is interesting is, now suddenly the meter changes here. It's not the same meter. In the chanting, the meter will change. It's only just to draw attention. I'm explaining it from a different point of view. What is it? Now I'm giving a direct indicators as to how you are supposed to think of the self. How the self to be thought about is what he is giving now. Kavin Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyam Samanussamedhya Sarvasya Datara Machantya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasah Parastat. He who meditates on the omniscient, ancient, all ruler, minuter than the minute, supporter of all, of inconceivable form, effulgent as the sun, beyond the darkness. This is how you are supposed to think. You are supposed to be thinking on the self as what? As omniscient. Kavim. Kavi. Kavi means that. Kavi means the all-knowing. The one who is the all-knower. Of course, it's also is referred to a poet. The poet is also referred as Kavi. Like Valmiki is referred as Adi Kavi. The primeval, primary, first Kavi. Primeval Kavi. The all-knowing. Meaning, the one who has that ability to see beyond. That's called Kavi. Means the one who can. The self, that consciousness can see beyond. We can see only two things. Our intelligence can move only to two. What are the two things we can go to? Past, present. You can know your past. You can know your present. You can never know your future. You can never know that. That is not possible. Don't go to an astrologer and ask him. He can't define his own future. How can you be telling your future? Future cannot be known, full stop. The proof is very simple. Look into all the YouTube. It's still there. The predictions for 2020 by all this great, astrologers. What did they say about 2020? And 2021, what did they say? New Year. Before New Year, they gave all that. What did they say? What has happened and what they said, no connection. See? But still, what do you do? That's why there is more of psychology today we have in astrology than astrology there. You see, there's more of psychology. When two old people come to see an astrologer, understood is what? Right. To see an astrologer, two old people come. Young couple come to see an astrologer. What's the meaning? An young couple come. They obviously, one of the easiest thing to guess is what? 2-3 things you can guess. What? Child or promotion, marriage issue. That's all. No. These are the few things they will be worried about. That's why they come. If you are not worried, you will never go to an astrologer. Remember that. You see, when you are not worried, you will never go to an astrologer. The fact that you are going, it's like when you are healthy, you will never go to a doctor. The fact that you are fixing an appointment and going to a doctor means what? That's why if you want to irritate a doctor, confuse the doctor, very simple thing. Fix an appointment, go to him. Before he could even ask you, you ask him, how are you? A doctor gets confused because he is supposed to ask that question to you. What is happening? Now you go and ask the doctor, what's happening? He gets confused. He says, no, I'm supposed to ask that. The fact that you are going to a doctor means what? The fact that you are going to a dentist means what? Similarly, when old people come, what is it? First thing they'll be thinking of what? Either son's marriage or daughter's marriage. That's all. You are correct 90% of the time. That's all it is. Now, for this, there's no calculations required. This requires a little experience. You see, you have to just have a little application. That's about it. Remember, your intelligence is incapable of knowing the future. Your intelligence is capable of knowing the past, present. How much Allah I'm not talking about. How much of past you can know, how much of present you can know, Allah I'm not talking about. You can know something, no. But you can never know what is tomorrow. Forget about tomorrow. Today afternoon, evening, tonight. You can never know that, remember. After it has happened, you can. Very near future, you can guess. So next moment, what's going to happen? You are going to continue the class, correct? No. You see, immediate future means as it comes more closer to the present, you can know a little better. But a future can never be categorically known. Right? Kavin means the one who can see the future also. It doesn't mean all poets, please. We are not talking about all those who write poetry now. Vairamuttuala, don't go and ask. Future, because he is a great poet. Prasun Joshi, we will go and ask, Prasun Joshi, because he is a poet. No, we'll go and ask him. That's not what is referred to. The one who has that ability to see beyond the normal perception. Normal perceptual capacity, intellectual capacity is to know the present and the past. He can see. What can see the past, present, and future is the self. Therefore, Kavi. One. Because there he's giving about 8 points are there in one verse. Okay. First point. Second point he gives is Purana. Means ancient. Old. That's what is Purana is. Purana means old. Old means so old, so old. Like in old, stories and all we start, no? Long, long time ago. Such a long time ago. So long ago. No one knows how long ago. That is called Purana. See? So don't ask in Puranas, the story said no. Skanda Purana says this. No? So old. So old, you will never know how old it is. Don't say archaeological department has not done. It's not no chance. You see, we will see that. You don't worry. Remember this Purana. When we go in future in down, few verses are there. When we go further, we will see. You see? So he is explaining this Purana means ancient. Ancient means so old, so old. Old means past. See, first he said Kavin. Kavin means what? The past I can know, present I can know, future only I don't know, sir. So he says, the past also you don't know properly. That's why Puranam he says. Why Puranam is this? Old. So old means past, go in the past. You are traveling in time. When you travel in time concept itself we were able to recognize only after the second experience. In the first experience, there is no time. You see, after the class, you can answer this question. How long the class went today? Correct? How long? You can answer that. Now, when I'm beginning the class, can you answer the question? How long the class? It's not possible. The time that we experience, we can recognize, register is only after the second experience. But the consciousness exists in the first experience also. Therefore, it is Purana, beyond time. Purana means old, so old, so old, so old, so old. How old, sir? Nobody knows how old it is. Why? Beyond the concept of time. Yes. Anusashitara means all ruler. Anushasitara means he is the ruler of everything, controller. He is the one who is a definer. How? Because we see in the world the laws were functioning meticulously. The meticulous functioning of the principle of karma, causation, law of action, law of cause and effect. All those laws were functioning in the world so meticulous. How? Because of the presence of the self. The sun rises in the east every day. How? No holiday, no vacation. Monsoon comes, appointed time. Less or more is a different thing, but it comes. Summer comes. You plant a mango seed, you get only mango tree. You never get a coconut tree out of it. That's the law. It functions so meticulously. Since the laws were functioning so meticulously, we posit there must be someone who is managing the whole thing. Now, he's only stating that word, please. That explanation is how you are supposed to be contemplating. What is the meaning of that? Therefore, it is Anusashita. Ano Aniyamsam. Minuter than the minute. Anu means Anu is the minute one. Small one. Atom. Anu means atom. Small one. Smaller than that. It is so subtle. That's what it means. It is so fine and so subtle. So small. So small, so small. It is so refined, it is. That's what it means. Subtle, meaning it has penetrated even that atom. It has penetrated into that atom it is existing, means it is existing everywhere. So, what he is referring to is all pervading. Say that no. Many times you will be wondering, you read these things. Say that no directly, beyond time. It is beyond this. He is the all ruler. It is all pervading. Say and move, no. Why are you complicating it like this and presenting, sir? Remember, this is presented this way not to explain. This is presented for you to contemplate. Okay? Because this contemplation you will be doing when this is Nididhyasana, remember. After Shravana and Manana, you do Nididhyasana. Most of these points, these verses were given to a person who is sitting and doing Nididhyasana. To him it is given. Right? For us it is not. For those who are doing Shravanam, this is not going to be of much help. You will say, okay, then next what? What else is God? He is all ruler, he is all pervading. Oh. You just move out. You see, you can never stay in that thought. That's what the point is. If we say your ability to stay with the thought of God means you must have that capacity to take up. It is all pervading. It is beyond time. It is all knowing. To go on in that thoughts is what is referred as Nididhyasana. Similar thought, Upasana. To the person who is sitting for Upasana, all these things are given. Sarvasya Datara. This is the substance, the supporter. He is a supporter of all, Sarvasya. For everything, he is the supporter. Like ocean is the supporter of all the waves. Gold is the supporter of all the ornaments. Same way, here, he is a supporter of all. Achintya Rupa, of inconceivable form. Beautiful point. Is another one, very interesting one. Achintya Rupa. You cannot conceive the form of it. Intellect cannot conceive, fathom this form. But then in the scriptures, they have described very many forms. What about all that, sir? All those forms are what? They are all just symbolic, that's all. All these forms attributed to God is just symbolic. Because the self is not an object of perception, emotion, thought. You cannot see God. You cannot touch God. You cannot taste God. You cannot feel God. You cannot smell God. How much ever you buy this agarbattis and keep. It's agarbatti smell, not divine smell. You can smell God everywhere. No, it's all just, your makeup. That's about it. You cannot do that. It is beyond all that, is what is there. Then what are we seeing then? It's just a symbolic representation of what? God that is seen is a symbolic representation of what then? That is why we have very many gods here. We don't have only one God. We have many gods. Why we have many gods? Because same Krishna for Mirabai, Krishna is what? Eternal lover, beloved. He is a beloved and he is a lover. That's it. That is Mirabai. Surdas Krishna is very different. Now, if you read Surdas, also read Mirabai, you cannot understand. It is same Krishna they are talking about. It will appear as though two totally different personalities they are talking about. It's not the same. So, what is the God's form that you visualize? You visualize a God form, right? What is it? It's a symbol. Symbol of what? Symbol of what you are aspiring to pursue. Remember, gods are not having a form of their own. It is you give it a form. Remember, you giving it a form doesn't mean it existed only after you gave that form. Like, it is not that the land mass that is existing as India came into picture only after we created the national flag. Land was existing, this country was existing millions of years before. Even we can create this flag. But once we created that flag represents what? The land, the country. Isn't it? Which came first? Land is on king. But for us to represent that particular land, particular country, we created that form. That's about it. You smash that flag because Indian flag has changed many times. You know that, no? See the history of national flag. The flags had changed a lot over a period of time. You see, now a flag that has changed with many periods has not affected anything to the land, to the country. Country is same. Country is beyond the flag. But I want to connect, I want to mentally visualize that state. For that convenience, we created a flag based upon our understanding. The United States created a flag based upon what they wanted that country to represent. We created the flag wanting to represent this country. What this country represents. You know, all that. How we wanted to. This is our thinking. Similarly, the various forms that were all conceived by people is not because of all this. It is because of our thinking. It's all symbolic. That's about it. That's not the reality. But God per se is what, sir? Beyond perceptions, emotions, and thoughts. You can't conceive it. He is Achintya Rupam. His form is inconceivable. Inconceivable form means it is formless. You see, a form which cannot be conceived at all means it is formless. That's what it means. Aditya Varnam means effulgent as the sun. Aditya Varnam is effulgent as the sun, meaning it is self-effulgent. Aditya Varnam means what? Self-effulgent. Consciousness is self-illuminating. The proof of consciousness is not something else. It is consciousness is the proof. You don't require any other proof to prove consciousness, because no proof can be provided to disprove the presence of consciousness. Like people always ask, say, can you prove the existence of God? Then I'll believe. I say, forget about all that. First, can you prove the non-existence of God? If at all you say that non-existence of God, you will be talking about what? You will be talking about a particular form. That's all. That particular form of Ganesha is not there, you will say. Okay. Because we don't have that problem. Why? Because you have already dismissed it. What? His Rupa cannot be conceived. So this is then the Rupa that is presented to you is only symbolic. That's about it. By dismissing this, you are not disproving that. It is like by tearing the national flag, I have destroyed the country now. I burned the national flag. Can I say I have burnt the country? Now there is no country. The country has gone. Burned to ashes. We call that as Bethel. Blabbering. Same way, by demolishing the idol, you are not demolishing anything. The form you are by disproving. Can you disprove the presence of God? Why? You have to disprove the presence of God means you have to disprove the presence of consciousness. How can you disprove the presence of consciousness? Therefore, consciousness doesn't require any proof to prove its existence. Okay, I'll come from other side. I have to give a proof of existence of my friend, neighbor, some neighbor. Okay, I have to give a proof, correct? Otherwise, without a proof, how will you know? So what I have to do? I have to take you to that fellow and say, hey, now friend, I have to tell. And that fellow also says what? Yes, he is my friend. Then that's the proof. This is my neighbor. So I have to take you there and I can give you the proof. I studied in that school. What is the proof? I go there. You have to give a proof. What is the proof? I can take you to that college and take the register and say, see, in the registration, there is my name. My number is there. My father's name was there. My mother's name was there. This is my date of birth. All that is matching. Therefore, that is me. The proof is there, correct. Now, what is the proof that I have to give to myself that I exist? How can I disprove my existence? Do I need any proof that I exist, that I am alive? Do I need any proof to myself that I am dead? Doctor certificate should give. To whom? To me now. How can we will never we would not require a proof that I am existing, nor anything can be told by the non-existing. You can't disprove my existence to myself. Then what is the proof of my existence? How can you disprove it? You don't need any proof, nor there is no possibility of a disproof. That is called self-evident. To see any object, you need the sunlight. Right? To see the sun, do you need the sunlight? Not required. Why? Because the sun is the sunlight. The sunlight and sun are one and the same. They are not two different things. When we say sun, that means what? Sunlight. They are not two. Same way here, that consciousness is self-evident, self-illuminating. Doesn't require any other proof to prove it. Right? Aditya Varnam. And then he gives the next one, is outstanding one. He says, Tamasav Parastat. Is a beauty. Yes. Now he has said it is like sun. This Tamasav Parastat is provided to cover up one possible misunderstanding of the sun, Aditya. Tamasav Parastat means beyond darkness. What does beyond darkness means? Why he suddenly brings in the darkness here? Is because sun can light, illumine, know everything. But there is one thing sun cannot illumine. Is it? Darkness. Isn't it? Darkness, sun cannot, that's what the Puranic story goes. Someone went to Lord Surya and said, Surya Deva, you want to get married. If you want to marry, there is only one girl who is so dark, slightly darker than Krishna also. Somebody say Krishna is North Indian. I say Krishna is not North Indian. He is an Andhra fellow. He must be a Telugu speaking guy. Balakrishna is, must be descendant. How do you know that? Dressing sense. Black fellow he is. But look at the dress he has. Yellow. Like a Telugu hero he is. The Telugu heroes are all, there. That particularly this fellow, this Balakrishna, this, red color, dark red they'll have, and then green color one, and yellow color tie. Impossible. Krishna is like that. Dark fellow, but he has pitambara, or is yellow color. Very funny it will look, actually. If you see someone in the dress, because we say Krishna, 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 we are all seeing. Actually, if you have a fellow there to come in that dressing, you will say, in that dressing sense you have. Same way, So this fellow went to Surya and said, you want to marry, because nobody is willing to marry him. He is burning this guy. Who will marry him? You can't go near her. So marriage means he has to come and tie tali, He has to put the ring. After the ring, they have to, hug each other and kiss the bride. Enga, burn to ashes. Nobody. So he was so worried. So they went and told him, there is one lady, but she stays in the other side. She will not come out. She is a real patni. She will never step out of the house. Their house is in the dark place. So you have to go and catch her. That's why he is running every day. Trying, he goes, no. He goes there. By the time he goes there, she comes this side. One place he is still running, it seems. Poor fellow. You know. Same way, we say, this tamasa parastat is because the sunlight cannot illumine darkness. So, if you take that comparison, sunlight to be consciousness, there is one misunderstanding possibility that consciousness can illumine only knowledge. It cannot illumine ignorance. But consciousness can illumine ignorance also. You see, consciousness is self-illuminating. Also, it will illuminate everything. But sunlight cannot illuminate darkness. That is not possible. Because to see darkness, you are not dependent on sunlight at all. Without sunlight, you can see. What? Darkness. Darkness can be seen without sunlight. Right? He says, this is beyond. So to cover that up, it's a fascinating, statement. Upanishad, this is. Aditya Varnam Tamasaf Parasta. Beautiful explanation to what is that consciousness. Now, if you want to practice this upasana, how you have to do, sir? This is the verse. This is how you practice it. Entertain similar thoughts. Take a thought and stay with it and entertain it from various angles. Look at it from this, look at it from that. Keep on entertaining that. When you entertain that, you are practicing this. How you should do it, he is giving us a direction for that. That's all. We continue the next class. Thank you.